when you think of anime, you think shows like that, shows like
あのね、サザエ、お酒だったらね、僕はもうごめんだよ。
this. Don't count. But why? They're both animated, they're both made in Japan. By definition alone, they're both anime. In fact, Sazae-san is the longest running anime of all time, holding the Guinness World Record. So why is it that when we ask people what anime they watch and they say Doraemon, we can't help but think,
Oh, I meant like, the other anime.
Right. Like anime. Like there's a distinction.
are we all just irrational gatekeeping douchebags? Or is there something else going on here? Let's find out. How do our brains recognize anime? Some people think it's the hand-drawn art style the animators use. Others think it's the stereotypical tropes writers inject into the show. And while there is some truth to this, it's not even close to being the full story. I mean, Beastars is an anime made completely out of CGI, and Full Metal Alchemist, the quintessential anime, has like 0 tropes in it. So then, what is it? What's the secret sauce that elevates animation into anime? The answer is function. Let me explain with an analogy. If I asked you to picture a chair, you'd probably come up with something like this: a piece of brown wood with 4 legs, a seat, and a backrest. But what happens if we change its color or material? What if we take away the backrest? Hell, let's get rid of a leg too, just for fun. Now, we changed almost every physical aspect of this chair, but magically enough, it's still a chair, right? That's because it's not the aesthetic properties that make a chair. It's the function. It's a chair because we can sit in it. Doesn't matter if it's red, green, blue, has 2 legs, 3 legs, or 10. In psychology, this field of study is called embodied cognition. Tying it back to anime, we find that the superficial stuff like how a show looks or where it was produced matter much less than we think, because what our brains really care about is how a show functions. That's why you got shows that look like anime and sound like anime, but don't feel like anime. It's also why American cartoons like Avatar or Ruby or Blue Eye Samurai, cartoons that function like anime, get mixed up for it all the time. Great, so we're not irrational gatekeeping douchebags then. Just the regular kind. So, function defines anime, but what exactly is the function of anime? Does something like that even exist? Well, everything we interact with has a function. Chairs let you sit in them, books help us learn, and anime? Anime transforms us. The best titles take us on a journey of emotional depth. They expose us to complex themes through subtle but powerful storytelling. And when we allow ourselves to be fully immersed in their stories, we come out transformed at the end. Vinland Saga teaches us compassion. Cyberpunk shows us that it's okay to let go. And Frieren reminds us to cherish our relationships while they last. That's why there's so many of these anime change my life type videos floating around YouTube. But is all anime transformative? What about the fun stuff? Comedy shows like One Punch Man or slice of life anime like Bocchi. At first glance, maybe not. But if we strip these shows down to their cores, we find that even light-hearted shows like these often contend with meaningful themes. One Punch Man was about a guy going through an existential crisis. A man who lusted for the power to rise to any challenge. But in a hilarious twist of fate, got so strong nothing could challenge him anymore. And Bocchi was about a teenager with crippling social anxiety, slowly learning to overcome it. These shows might not club us over the head with deep philosophical questions, but they can still leave us changed in subtle ways. They're still transformative, and so still feel like anime. Cartoons, on the other hand, don't do this. Cartoons seem to focus on entertaining us more than transforming us. Think of shows like Family Guy or Rick and Morty. They're a good time for sure. And yeah, a lot of them do have take-home messages, but they just don't hit as hard as anime, do they? And that's why they don't feel like anime either. Okay, so you won't believe our luck. As I'm writing this, I found the Rick and Morty anime, which is really convenient because this is a show that has both a cartoon and an anime. Perfect to test out our theory. Let's see if the anime feels deeper and more transformative than the cartoon.
How's it going, Rick?
Good to see ya. Gen was showing me a picture of his grandson.
You know, if my daughter was still alive, I might have had a grandson around the same age by now.
But don't take my word for it. Let's see if our theory checks out with other anime as well. Doraemon is a show about a magic cat that goes on adventures with its owner. Pretty entertaining, but does it transform us? Not really. Doesn't feel like anime. Avatar: The Last Airbender is about a 12-year-old kid burdened with the responsibility of saving the world. Does it explore complex themes and transform the viewer? Yeah, feels like anime. Panty and Stalking, oh god, is a show about two bad bitches goofing off and fighting poop monsters all day. Very untransformative. This is technically an anime, by the way, but it sure as hell doesn't feel like one. Let me know if you think I'm off base here. Because realistically, what we're doing is coming up with a quick litmus test for which shows feel like anime to us and which don't. We aren't, by any means, trying to come up with a hard definition. I don't think that's possible. Art is hard to define. It's constantly changing, evolving, and pushing boundaries. That's what it's meant to do. So trying to define art is like trying to pick up a wet eel. It's real slippery. But what does this all mean for us? Why should we care about how our brains figure out what anime is and what isn't? Well, if we take embodied cognition at face value, it's actually pretty cool. The notion that we label things by function first and appearance second essentially means that we humans, as a species, are utilitarian at our core. It means that our number one measure of a person's worth is how useful they are and what they can bring to the table, not the superficial stuff, like how high their cheekbones are or the color of their skin. And that's a huge win, because the value that we bring to other people's lives is something that we have the power to define and change, unlike the other stuff. It also means that if we ever feel shunned by society, we can flip the script and literally reinvent ourselves in the eyes of other people by learning to bring value to them in our own unique ways. And I think that's pretty neat.